With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
My ultimate survival handgun. That's what we're going to talk about today. A contentious topic. That's why I didn't say the ultimate. I said my ultimate survival handgun. That's what we're going to talk about today on Gunfighter Life. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, the right way, with God Almighty at the center, His values, and real-world military, law enforcement, private contracting, competition shooting experience. See bio in the show notes. Alright guys, with that, I don't want to make the whole half of this episode about caveats and yeah buts. This is not the most flexible survival handgun. This is not the best hunting handgun. So let's get into what I think it should be as far as parameters. One, it should be, in my opinion, reliable. It could have all the other attributes that you want. Could shoot .0001 MOA, which is kind of ridiculous for a handgun, but you get the point. It could be in the biggest, most powerful magnum. It could leap tall buildings in a single bound. But if it doesn't go bang when you pull the trigger, you got problems. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be rugged. And those aren't always the same thing. Some guns are really, really reliable. My STI Staccato 2011s, which that's not this gun that I'm going to talk about, but they're fantastically reliable. I would not call them the most rugged. They need to be lubed properly, cleaned regularly, small parts tuned. But they're crazy reliable. But rugged is its own thing. Can it function with some dirt in it, with some sand in it, with some blood pouring into the action, whatever it is? For me, is it accurate enough that it will not hold me back as far as accuracy standards go? So, well, most handgun encounters are at 3 yards, so if I can hit a giant silhouette at 3 yards, yeah, handgun's accurate enough. I don't play that game. My standard for accuracy is what I call a head plate, like a head-sized plate, at 50 yards, 10 in a row. Could I shoot a smaller group than that? By God's grace, sure. But that's my standard for accuracy. My handgun, my go-to carry gun daily, my go-to survival gun, had better be able to do that, because I can do it consistently. My gun should be able to do it. And not all just handguns that people might consider good handguns can do that. So, yeah, it has to be accurate enough that it doesn't hold me back. It also has to be fast. And fast is so hard to quantify, but it has to be fast for me to get out of the holster and get first, second, third round hits on target quickly. It needs to be fast to get out of the holster and get a quick hit on target, and it needs to be fast at follow-ups because, unlike Hollywood, I don't have TV, but when you shoot a bad guy, just because you're the good guy, he doesn't fly back an extra, 20 feet. I don't play video games either, but because you're the good guy, the bullet doesn't get an extra whatever number of hit points. It doesn't work that way. You may have to deliver several consecutive hits quickly on target. And again, the gun should not hold me back. I know what a good split time for me is. I don't want a gun where it feels like I'm dragging a piano down a dirt road. Even if it's reliable. Reliability is obviously important, but it's not the only important thing. A gun is slowing me down and I know that I can shoot faster and the gun is holding me back. Why would I settle for that? Also, speed on transitions. How fast can I shoot this target and then this target? Think about the classic L.P.D drill. Some guns are really good at a bill drill, which is 6 rounds, 7 yards, center mass, A-zone, real fast. But they don't track well, they don't transition well because they're too heavy. Some guns just have too much recoil to be able to shoot quickly. I don't care how good you are, I don't care if you're an Icelandic, power lifter, I don't care how big and muscly you are, it's not really about that. No matter how good you control recoil, if you reduce it, you can control it better and you can shoot quickly, more quickly. That's just how that works. Physics. The recoil will take the gun off target. The less recoil, the faster it returns back to target if you're doing your job. So it has to be fast. I would also like it to be battle proven. Like, not just mine is reliable, but like it has a track record, street cred, proven reliability. This one, you may not put a lot of stock in, but I do. It has to be simple. Like, simple parts. And I love 1911s and I love 2011s, but they're not a simple gun. There are a lot of moving parts in a 1911, and there's some complex parts back when, hand craftsmen would hand fit stuff together. Example, I could pretty easily, I'm not telling you should carry a Glock, I don't hate you, but if a Glock trigger spring broke, I could probably find a bunch of random springs somewhere. I could find a random spring and make another trigger spring because it's simple. If the main spring in a 1911 breaks, unless I have a machine shop and a whole lot of time, heat treating and a bunch of other stuff, I'm probably not making a mainspring for a 1911. So simplicity. This is not the only metric, but maybe look at how many parts it has in an exploded view in a diagram. But that also important. My gun should fit my hand, your gun should fit your hand. Should not be finicky with ammo. Now, you should have your gun zeroed and sighted in and make sure that your gun feeds with your ammo, especially day to day, your carry ammo. You should know that. But if you have to put some other kind of ammo in it, it should be reliable with a broad spectrum of ammo. Example from, competition shooting with an AR. You can tune an AR, gas system and everything, and you can, to win competitions, you have to be very, very reliable. Your handgun has to be very, very reliable. Your rifle has to be very, very reliable, because one malfunction costs you a lot of time, and time important in a competition, for most competitions, practical shooting competitions. You could tune an AR and make it crazy reliable and fast with one specific kind of ammo, with your hand load, but it might not work at all or work very poorly with NATO surplus ammo. You want a gun that will work, at least function, with a variety of ammo, in my opinion. Also, it has to be a weight that I think you should carry and use it most of the time. Now, I'm a big proponent, unlike a lot of people, carrying a full-size fighting handgun strong side hip day to day. Not the guy telling you to wiener carry or appendix carry a little #MeToo Micro 9. But some guns are just heavy, and heavier than you're probably going to carry every day. My limit's around 30-ish ounces. Let's say 35 right in the middle, around 35 ounces, which is a pretty hefty full-size handgun. Most, modern fighting handguns will fit into that weight. Alright, so let's talk about my go-to ultimate survival handgun. It's been one of my carry guns for a long time. It is the Sig Sauer P226 single action only. I can't stress that enough when I start talking about numbers and stuff. This would not be applicable as much if it were double single. If you want to walk down the aisle and marry and only shoot double singles, it's kind of like the Glock with the grip angle thing. You kind of got to marry it. I don't want to marry that ugly broad. But I like single action only. I like a really good, crisp, clean single action trigger. Sig makes several models of single action only. When I started realizing I wanted to switch to an optic, I was looking for guns to carry that fit a lot of these criteria. It so happened in a used case at a gun store, there was a Sig Legion. The people there cut guns for an optic. It was a single action only. It was a good price. It was a good weight. And, it's got a simple, rugged, robust design. It's battle proven. I said, okay, I'm going to get this. It was a good deal. I got it cut, got it set up, got a Barstow Precision barrel for it. I've been running that thing for years, and I knew it was a good, solid carry gun. What surprised me recently, I took it out and ran some time trials with it against my STI 2011. Very, very good gun, my old duty gun. And I had it cut for an optic because it was just sitting there without an optic. I had it cut for an optic, and I started running time trials, and it's a fast gun. But you know what? and I've done a whole episode on this, I think. I may have only done it for the patrons, but amazingly, the SIG 226 not only could run with it, but in some cases beat it. And it's a much simpler gun, it's a much lighter weight gun, and it's got that reputation for being rugged and reliable. Gun I already had. So I thought, well, that really should be my go-to. If something is my go-to, like when the 2011 was my go-to back in the day, I got two. One for training, one for duty carry. If one broke, I'd either salvage a part from another, or I would just run the other one. Shot a competition or went to a class and that gun was just filthy, I would carry the other one until the other one was clean. Them both set up similarly. You get the idea. I thought, wow, that gun can keep up with the 2011 amazingly, because a lot of the other guns could not, right? Like the Glock, I shot the Glock for time and stuff. It's okay. It's. I think that's in the episode. Glock sucks 16.4%. It was that much slower. I would have expected the SIG for me to be just a little bit slower, at least on a bill drill or a Mozambique drill, because it's lighter. Just even if both were equal, physics alone would say that in that instance, the 2011 should be faster. But I didn't find that to be the case. And that gun is one of the most rugged, reliable guns that have maybe ever been made. So since that was going to be one of my go-tos, and I realized I was that much faster, instead of one of my carry guns, I wanted to make it like my go-to gun. Go-to competition gun, so I would train with the gun that I was going to carry. And so what did I do? I bought another one. You guys may or may not know, but I've had quite a big pickup in op tempo at work. I've worked a bunch of extra shifts. I had the money, blessed to have the money, and this gun was on sale. I said they make several different models of the 226 and single action only. Like the Legion. They also made a collaboration with ZevTech. I don't know that I've ever had ZevTech stuff. Before, I probably have had some small part that I was getting a spring or something. Maybe it was ZevTech, but I've never had like a Zev gun or a Zev Glock. I don't like polishing turds. But I looked at it and I looked at the specs, and it had a lot of features that I really liked. It was single action only. The thumb safety, as a handgun should be. It had a light and slide, which, if my other regular slide was faster, the Legion slide was fast, this one should be a little bit faster. Had a threaded barrel, not because I want to put a suppressor on it, because I want to put a micro comp on it. Take that, suppressor companies. I'm going to make my handgun louder. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Everybody's trying to push suppressors, but it had a lot of the features that I like. It had good sights, it had a light and slide, it had good grips, it had an optic already on it, the Sig Romeo 1 Pro. And I wasn't crazy about that optic, but I was willing to try it. It came on the gun when I started adding it up, and the fact that it was on sale at Midway USA. I think they're out of stock now, but it was on sale, and I did the math, and I was like, well, that actually seems like a pretty good deal. Now, deal for me, it's an expensive gun, but I thought, spend the money up front, or I could get a Legion and have all the other stuff done to it and probably end up around the same price. So I bought the Zev. And boy, that thing is fast. I've been shooting it. I've been running it. It's crazy fast. I took it to a competition this past couple of days ago. So fast. I loaded it up with 147 hollow points for the competition because it's one of my go-to carry guns. I want to make sure it'll work with a similar load. Now, I didn't shoot a whole load out of my duty load, but a very similar load, hollow points, 147s. I've tested it with my carry load to make sure that it works, but I went and shot the competition, ran flawless. A bunch of assorted magazines, ran flawless as you would expect from a SIG 226. Shot fast, accurate, fantastic gun. Now, rewinding, you guys know that I love the Beretta. Beretta now makes a lot of single action only variants. Thumb safety single action only. They didn't when I got that Legion single action only. They only made the Millennium, which was like a collector's item. Had those existed, I may have gotten one of those because I like the Beretta so much. Actually like the falling block system of the Beretta more than the tilt barrel system that most modern guns have. I like the system the Beretta uses better. However, the SIG 226 does have a big advantage in that it's got a big, broad top end that you could, land a 747 on, which means it has a lot of real estate for mounting optics. It can direct mount a lot of optics. Like my Legion, I just had it direct cut for an RMR, and I put 2 giant screws in there, and I bolted that sucker directly to the slide. About as rugged as it's going to get. On the optic on that gun, I have like what I would consider the most bomb-proof optic for a handgun, the Trijicon RMR dual illuminated. I've talked about that sight before. It doesn't take batteries, runs off radiation and ambient light, no electronics. That's what's on there. My other one has the Romeo 1 Pro. I don't know if out of thinking, maybe I'll get this and maybe I'll take the optic off and I'll put it on like a 22 or something and get an RMR for this gun as well. But I've been shooting it quite a bit, and I actually really like the optic. I ordered one of the protective shrouds for it. It does take a battery. I added to part of my EDC a spare battery. Both those guns have really good backup iron sights where I can use the iron sights even if the dot goes out. It's not going to go out on the Trijicon, but you get the idea. The new gun has a combination ZevTech and Wilson Combat iron sights. I would not be heartbroken if I had to just shoot it with the iron sights. In fact, I ran it with just the iron sights when I got it because I painted it because black is lame. Black is one of the least tactical colors in history. Just a legacy color, I think, but if you can not have a black gun, maybe don't. But I took the optic off when I painted it, and I shot it with just the irons for a while. I like it with just the irons. The irons are good. Obviously, the optic's a force multiplier. But as of now, I'm liking the Romeo 1 Pro. It's got a big window. It's got a clear dot. It does take a battery. Perhaps I could have in my kit like a backup upper slide with an optic with another Trijicon RMR on it. Because day to day, the battery thing, not a big deal. But if things got really sketchy, you throw the RMR on there. I'm not saying this is the best gun for you, but I'm saying it's a really good go-to survival gun. Is it the most flexible? No. Is it the best hunting handgun? No. But I have been blessed to do a ton of handgun hunting. I've killed more deer with a handgun than I can remember. I've killed all kinds of deer with handguns. And I usually do it with my duty gun or my carry gun. Why? Because that's the gun I want to be good with. And yes, I've killed deer with 9mm. It's not as flexible as, something like a 4-inch Smith & Wesson 357. And that's a better hunting handgun. It has a lot of really good survival attributes. But especially, I think, if we're talking about, depending on the scenario, right, I don't see the future, but talking about a mass chaos type situation, people behaving badly is going to be a pretty big threat. A handgun is what you have on you. I have shot, and I've done whole episodes on how does a revolver stack up to, a modern semi-auto, and not well. Not well. I'd rather take it than nothing, right? But juice isn't worth the squeeze there. If your number one threat is going to be people behaving badly. So I personally, unless the apocalypse was like well on, and if you've survived past, 90-97% of the population, probably going to be able to get other guns. But day to day and in an acute, or short term in the short term in the long term eventual scenario, I want fast, I want accurate. And I want a gun that I carry and train with, a gun that I can go shoot competition with. This is my, at least for now, ultimate survival handgun. They're again, Beretta single action only, also legendary reliable, also simple, with the exception of you have to use the plate to mount the optic, which I'm not crazy about. I do like the operating system. I don't have one, right? I would love to run one of those time trials. You want to send me your, Beretta 92 XI or something, I'll run it. I don't take sponsors, I don't take bribes. You better not work for Beretta or anything, but if you want to send me one, I'll run it against a 226 and see how it stacks up. I just didn't have one, and I wasn't about to go out and buy 2 of another gun to experiment on it when I really liked the gun that I had and I wanted a second one. And let that be kind of a tactical tip of the day. If you've got a gun that's your main go-to training gun and you're like, oh, I'm looking at getting this gun or that gun, do you have a backup to the gun that you're most trained with and familiar with? That might be more important than getting the next latest and greatest gun that was introduced that may or may not be around in a few years. So think about the backup gun concept, not as like a backup gun like an ankle gun 357, but like backup gun as in like, I just did a training class, I just shot a competition, my gun is filthy, I've got this other one, I'll throw it on my hip, it's good to go, or I broke this spring, I'm just going to switch guns, or I'm just going to switch that spring out and order another one, but at least I'm not down and out, at least I'm not having an issue there. Or my optic broke, well, I'll just change the slide out, sight it in, you're good to go. You get the idea there. But I know this is going to be a contentious topic. I'm just waiting for the comments. What would you pick? Why is this a silly choice for you? You let me know. But a SIG 226 single, I knew it would be a good gun. I didn't know it would be as fast as it was, and I am very pleasantly surprised with the Zev 226. It's even faster. Things crazy fast. Anyway, with that, guys, your tactical verse of the day. You've probably heard it here many times if you're a regular listener. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.